I can't tell if anyone is here. It's very confusing. Someone use the comments chat if you can see me, because it's telling me no viewers. Yay, okay. Google, sorry about the confusion, because Google Hangouts is like 0 users, and I really cannot tell how many people are here. Okay, wow, okay. Yay, Crowdcast, boo, Google Hangouts. Okay, wow, cool. People actually showed up. Thank you so much for being here. It's kind of weird talking to myself. And yes, Andre, I can see the comments. All right, that's my husband telling me like, hey, you have comments. And I'll say something nice too. Yay, okay. This is a totally new experience for me. I've never done something like this before, so thanks for showing up. I was terrified that no one would show up, so this is pretty awesome. So I'm gonna figure out, oh, hi, this is Wesley. I don't know if you can hear him probably because I microphone. Come here. Oh, he's a very big cat. He'll be showing up in the background. So that is my cat. He's going to be annoying, probably. Let's see if I can get to the questions. I like how everyone likes my question, my suggestion about my story at 500 startups, because that's a fun story. I'm not going to start with that, though. So let me do one more tweet, since it's 1 o'clock right now. If you guys don't mind me waiting one more second just to get more people here. Keep adding comments and whatnot in the little chat widget. Yes, my cat is really cute. I completely agree. He's now in the window. He'll come back down as soon as I start talking. The problem is my cat is that when I talk, he thinks I'm talking to him, even though I'm on the microphone. So he will probably start chirping soon, and I'll try to shut him up. Let's see, tweet. Whoops, that didn't work. Okay, last tweet. People can pop in as they want. This crowdcasting is kind of cool now that I figured it out. So the main reason why I'm doing this crowdcasting is because on my Kickstarter, which I hope you have seen, Kickstarter for the new Hello Web App book, I just added a stretch goal for 3 of these for Kickstarter backers. So this is my test to see whether people are actually interested in it and they have questions and whatnot. So thank you for being here in this little experiment, just little ask me anything and whatnot. I'm going to go over to the questions, and I'm just going to jump in and start answering some of these ones that people added. Let's see. Crowdcast says I can say I'm answering this question. I'm going to start out with the workflow for writing. Ooh, that was interesting. Okay. I don't know if anyone can see that. So how did I, what's my workflow for writing? This took me a long time to figure out because there's like so many different apps out there for writing, and so many different ways of writing. Like you can write in Google Docs, or you can write in Markdown, and Markdown is a whole bunch of, there's a bunch of different services that use Markdown, like Draft and Leanpub. So Draft, it's draftin.com is the one I originally used. And basically, let's say, here, I'm gonna back it up a second. Workflow for writing. Workflow always starts out with an outline. And I just use Google Docs for an outline. I write out every single chapter that I'm writing for the books. And I basically just attack chapters as I go. The second Hello Web App book is the chapters are kind of self-contained, so it made it a little easier for me to jump around, whereas the first book was kind of all one flow. So once I have that done, I had to figure out what to write in. And I used to use a thing called Draft In. Unfortunately, it's no longer being updated anymore. It's no longer maintained. It's still up, and it's very frustrating. But it's like so many things have been slowly breaking because the founder is now doing high rise with 37 signals. So that was what the before is before. And the now is I write in Markdown, and I take those Markdown files and I use Leanpub, because Leanpub sets up this whole thing with Dropbox. And so I can create little Markdown files, sync it with Leanpub, and Leanpub, which is leanpub.com, creates my digital files for me. So it makes life so much easier, because all I have to do is write Markdown, does the digital files for me, and I can use those digital files to post on, sell through Amazon. And then the Markdown files I can also import into InDesign, which is my design, which is the layout software for the book. So the workflow is really just like taking these text Markdown files. I use MacVim for writing, thanks to Andre, my husband, for helping me out learning Vim. But yeah, just Markdown to format everything. And luckily my books are super easy, so I don't have to really do much like super formatting. So I don't have to use, was it LaTeX or LaTeX or whatever it's called. And then I can port that into different services and format it. That will, create the files for me. Cool. Now, that's cool. The question became a caption. Hey, Crowdcast, that's really neat. All right. So by the way, you can like add more questions, I think, through Crowdcast. That's really cool that I was able to answer a question. I'll get to the 500 startup story in a second. Well, maybe I'll just tell it now because it's a funny story. Ta-da, caption. So WeddingLovely is my startup, and I've been working on for like 4.5 years so far. And I want to say it was like 8 months after I started WeddingLovely, I was invited to join the Designer Fund, and through the Designer Fund, I got an interview with 500 startups and joined 500 startups, which I was really excited about. Before, I was thinking I was going to be solely a bootstrapper, and then I was like, oh, I'll do like a full funded company and all that. And that would have been really awesome, except there was another company in the batch that I had previous experience with, and I'm not going to mention their name, just trying to be nice. But I found out that they're in 500 startups beforehand, and what made it worse is 500 startups decided to sit us together in the same little group of tables. And mostly I'm working on my company as a solo founder, they're working on their company, and didn't cross paths that much because I was not that good of friends with these people. I felt really awkward because they would show up to all the marketing event or the go out drinking after 500 startups and whatnot. I usually avoided them because those people were there. Looking back at this time, it's kind of, I should have just like womaned up and made new friends and stuff, but I didn't. It was a very awkward time, and it came to a very embarrassing moment. In 500 startups, when you are accepted into the accelerator, they require you to buy a desk. I don't know if that's true now. This has been 4 something years. I was in there fall 2011, so yeah, 4 years. So out of my 500, hi cat, out of my $50,000 investment, I had to pay out $5,000 of that investment to have a desk in 500 startups for the 3 months. For other people who had like 3 founders, they have to pay $15,000 for their desk for those 3 months, their desks. I'm not a big fan of that practice, kind of frustrating in hindsight. But I paid $5,000 for this desk. And as a solo founder, I would work from home a lot because I don't have a team. I eventually had an employee. I had to go to the office, but I wasn't at the office every single day, as compared to some people who had multiple founders that had to have, be there and be with people every time. I could work from home if I wanted, and I live a half an hour from Mountain View, so sometimes I just didn't want to make the drive, rather spend that hour of driving each day at home. But I paid $5,000 for that desk, so by golly, that desk was mine. And one day I ran in, and I was in a rush. I had a meeting that afternoon, and this group of people I'm not big fans of had taken over my desk. They had hired a bunch of employees, and I'm like, hey, can you move so I can, sit at my desk and get into this meeting or whatever I had that day. And the founder stood up and was just like, you are never here. You don't get this desk. You aren't working at your company. And he just started like railing into me in the middle of this group, like this like co-working space of people, including like Dave McClure and all the partners of 500 Startups. And I was just like, I don't care if I'm not here. I paid for this desk. This is my desk. And the problem is that when I get emotionally charged, I get like angry. I do that thing where I get super angry and then I get super cryy. And it's so frustrating. So we're like yelling at each other in the middle of it. And this guy just keeps going on and on about how I don't care. I'm never there. So I don't get this desk. And I don't deserve it. Which was just so embarrassing and horrible. And it just remains one of the most embarrassing things I've ever been through. Eventually, people were just like, hey, Tracy, you go over here. I got switched desks that afternoon away from this team, and the team got my desk. I burst into tears in the middle of 500 Startups. I'm pretty sure everyone in that room probably remembers this moment. Very embarrassing. That team launched their company and shut down their company. Now we're doing something else. So at least my startup is still around and they're not. But yeah, if you're going to an accelerator, and you have passed with people, maybe see who's in the accelerator with you. Because normally people are really awesome. And that pretty much made my 3 months in 500 Startups very, very hard. Okay. Can people see me? Yay. Yay, Google Hangouts. All right. Again, thank you for letting me test this out. This is good information for if I do an official version of these later. Google Hangouts or Crowdcast or whatever thing this is. All right. Well, you got the end of that story, which is, beware of your accelerator partners. Usually people are awesome. I tend to think that most people are awesome. It's really disappointing when some people disappoint you and they're not awesome. So I was answering some questions or some comments on here. Yes, it was totally rude of that dude. As he's king of desks, I think he thought he was. That was his personality. Like, I have more stories, but then it'll be really obvious to figure out who this person is, and I don't want to do that because that would be mean, and I'm not like that. I try not to be like that. Wesley is watching screen. He does watch TV. He'll be on my lap, and he'll be watching, which is really funny because he's probably like, oh, this thing is moving. I'm actually surprised he's not meowing right now and talking with me. I guess he just thinks that he's nearby. Yes, Joel. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, not Joel. Joel, yes. I got this from Nathan Barry. I saw him do one a while back and I was like, that's cool. And I saved it. And then I was like, how do I do a video seminar? And I found it. So yay. All right, I'm gonna go back to questions and talk about a very general one, which is how do I stay motivated? I have a blog post kind of on this subject. I think it's like the worst that I made in my startup is depression. And this is like the killer to motivation. Is if I get depressed, I cannot work. And the problem is when things are going well, it kind of snowballs on itself. And like things are going well, it's easier for me to work on stuff. And then things are going super well again, and it's easier to work on. But when you hit a speed bump, depressed, something bad happened. This happened last night for me. It's really, really hard to stay motivated. So last night was a wash for me. I had a really bad day. In the evening, I just like threw my hands in the air and I grabbed my book, my 2 Scoops of Django book, and decided to just not work on anything for the rest of the day, which is kind of scary because I really need to finish the second Hello Webapp book. But usually, sometimes these like depressions, these like moments of bad stuff kind of last a few days. And especially when I need to get a lot of work done, I have to like force myself to be motivated. So I have quite a few different tactics to help me out with this. The main one is I use a Chrome extension. I wonder if I can put it in this comments. Chrome extension called, oh, what was it called? Andre, you're watching this. Can you put it in the thing? I'll find it. It's like Motivate or Momentum. That's what it's called. There's a Chrome extension called Momentum. It puts up this really pretty background. So whenever you open a new tab, you have an image and you have the time. But the thing I like most about it is that it allows you to insert a little to-do list in the corner. So whenever I open a new tab, I can see that to-do list. And I'm like, oh, right, there's things I need to do, because that's how I deal when I'm depressed. I just keep opening Reddit. And if I open a tab and I see a to-do list, that reminds me I need to do things. But if I don't feel like doing things, which happens a lot when I'm depressed, that to-do list is filled with lots of like tiny things. Like I put in really random small things all the time, and like really easy to achieve things, like go to the post office or send that email, send one email. Sometimes I just put on there just like do emails. But sometimes I'll make it easier for me to check off, because when I'm unmotivated and I don't want to work, I can see that to-do list and I see that really, I can search it for something that I actually do kind of feel like doing. And sometimes I just do like the easiest, simplest, takes me 5 seconds to-do list item. And when I check it off, it's kind of like this motivation for doing more. It gets me out of the habit of opening up Reddit and all those other websites all the time. And I do a lot of Redditing. I use RescueTime to track my time, and nearly every week it tells me I spent the most time on Reddit, which is ridiculous. So I need to cut that habit out. But by having a easily achievable to-do list and making like the smallest little things, if I can start checking something off, it helps me move on to things that are harder, things I'm avoiding. And then the second thing I do, worst case scenarios. Thank you, Andre. Momentum. Worst case scenarios is I start doing the Pomodoro Technique, where it's like you work on something for 25 minutes, 5-minute break. 25 minutes of work, 5-minute break. I think, or maybe it's 20. And after 4 of these Pomodoros, you have like a longer break. And this is kind of like a worst case scenario for me. I don't do it very often, but when I need to, I can say, okay, whatever I need to do, I just need to do 25 minutes of it. And it's enough, just like starting on something is enough to hopefully, to break me out of my the-ness. What do I use to track my time? Well, I mean, RescueTime tracks it in terms of a weekly view. So I can look back on it and see how terrible I did that week. In terms of tracking my time in general, I don't really. I kind of just flip from project to project, hoping that everything is done on time. This is probably a problem with WeddingLovely. When I freelance, I will track my time. When I freelance, I track my time with FreshBooks. But when I'm switching back and forth between working on a Hello Web app versus working on WeddingLovely, I'm kind of just going by feel of what it feels like really most important, because I tend to work with a lot of like fires going. Like, so that's also another thing for motivation. Procrastination, like Hello Web App, I'm trying to get to the printer in early October, which is really soon. That's like 2 weeks. So I have a lot of work to do, and that's really making me motivated to work all the time. So you can also, do the terrible thing, well, I didn't really procrastinate here. I just gave myself a really ambitious deadline and I have to get it out. RescueTime, good, you heard it. Favorite subreddits, I love the animals being bros, and then animals being jerks, and humans being bros. Like those subreddits just amuse me so much. They're my favorite ones to look at. But I also do more worky ones like startups and entrepreneurship and blogging, I think, some other ones like that. But I have a lot. There's a lot of cooking ones I follow. I love a lot of outdoor ones. This is why Reddit is so addicting. So I will say that I'm done with this question. Maybe you look like started struggling. Struggling with a startup. I'm just going to pop in here and say that WeddingLovely does not feel like a success. I don't really consider it a success. Sometimes I try to remind myself it is a success and that I have been able to work on it for the last 4 years. But for the last year, I have not paid myself through WeddingLovely because it does not make enough money. And I was kind of shelling all little bits of revenue into a minion that I hired so I can work on a Hello Web app. But, you know, I don't know. I think most people don't feel like a success. It's FYI. I definitely don't feel like success with WeddingLovely. I am trying to sell it right now. That's in talks with 2 different companies to sell it. That's not going to tell you whom, but it's time to try to do something else. And I don't want to shut it down. So that's why I'm trying to find a company. My cat wants my lap. I don't want to, oh, cat, do you mind? Sorry, cat aggro, go away. I don't want to shut down WeddingLovely, so I'm looking for ways to keep it open, but put me on a team. So cross my fingers that actually works out, but I certainly don't feel like a success a lot of times either. So I'm gonna go back to questions. I think you can add more questions on here and do votes, by the way, if you guys want me to focus on something. But I'm gonna continue doing the ones with top votes. So what is my average day like? Ta-da! That's so fancy. My average day. I have like a fairly set average day, which is one of the reasons why I put that on there. And this is 7 days a week, which is the ridiculous part about working for yourself, is that weekends don't feel like weekends. Weekends are actually better for working because less people emailing, less people pinging you on IM because other people are off living their life. So it's so much easier to work on the weekends than weekdays. So I end up working on and off 7 days a week. Luckily, I like what I'm doing. And I always get up early because that helps me get a jump start on my emails. So I usually wake up around 7 a.m., which is early for me, and start working on emails. I'm on this crazy diet right now, and I'm doing intermittent fasting. So I'm not allowed to eat until noon, which is kind of annoying, but it's working. And so I just like make myself a cup of coffee and I start working on emails until 9, sometimes till 11. Especially right now because I sent out a newsletter to all 5,000 WeddingLovely vendors, and like everyone responded to the newsletter. So I'm struggling right now to keep up with emails. Usually I don't get that many emails. And also like things like going to the Hello Web discussion forum. It's like morning to like 11 is my maintenance time, going in and making sure WeddingLovely is going okay, that Hello Web app, that there's any questions that people have answered, all maintenance. 11 to noon, I either work more if I have to, or I'll do some yoga, which I'm really into right now, and try to chill out for the rest of the day. And noon is food time because that's when I can eat. I get really excited about making my food at noon. So noon to 1 is usually like food time and a break. And then 1 till 6, it's like daily errands. I use this time because not a lot of people are out on the streets to go out and like run my errands and go to the store because it's so much easier not have to go to the store during peak hours because I work from home in my lovely office. And 6 to 7, 8 o'clock is kind of the chill out time in the evening with my husband and make dinner and whatnot. But then the other big block of work time is like say 7 till 10 or so. Again, because people are not emailing me and working. That's the time I do my most writing for Hello Web app or any other reason. That block of time is when I do really good writing when it's at night. So that's pretty much every single day of mine. It gets kind of monotonous. I work, like I said, it feels like I work a lot. It sounds like I work a lot. Like I said, Reddit is still my #1 time waster, according to RescueTime. So might sound like I work a lot, but I take a lot of annoying breaks and watch a lot of Netflix sometimes. So those are the main blocks of my day. Cool, we're half an hour in. It's pretty exciting. All right. No comments. I hope you guys are still here. It's hard to tell. I'm going to go ahead and answer the next question, which is how do I juggle writing a book and running a startup? Ta-da! Like Vanna White. There we go. So luckily with running my startup, WeddingLovely has been kind of in and out of maintenance mode. Depends on how motivated I am to work on WeddingLovely. So for the last, since I started working at Hello Web App, which is probably early this year, right after the launch of the actual book, I kind of took a little bit of break from WeddingLovely. Like I said, maintenance mode, dealing with emails and whatnot. There's a portion in the summer where I did a big feature push, and I released a new design for the profile pages for WeddingLovely. But really, it's like I kind of got burnt out on WeddingLovely over the last 4 years, and that's made it really motivating to work on the book and be enthusiastic about the book. It's something new, which is really cool. I've been working on WeddingLovely for 4 years, so I definitely kind of focused on it for the last summer, putting all my effort into it. But when I get burnt out on the book, it's time to go back to WeddingLovely. So that happens daily. Like sometimes I'm working, I get kind of frustrated or doing research and whatnot. I'll move back and do some WeddingLovely maintenance or work on a new feature or whatnot. By having these two projects, it makes it easier to juggle and work more, I guess, because I get burnt out on one, do the other. Get burnt on this one, do the other. It's definitely how I've been kind of going back and forth, because if I was working on one thing like WeddingLovely, get burnt out, I'd be more likely to do Reddit or any other time-wasting activity. So juggling these two has been a boon to my productivity, because it's easier for me to context switch between the both and not get burnt out. Hopefully, so far, have not been burnt out on both of them. Yay, you're still here. So that's kind of the overall answer about how I juggle both of these major projects. Other points is that, again, WeddingLovely is pretty easy to maintain right now, because I had a planning guide feature where it was wedding websites, and would work with people who are planning their wedding, give them a wedding website. And it was like my support requests went through the roof, because I was giving people who don't have a lot of experience with computers a product that they were going to give to their friends and family. And so I got emails all the time about, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I add glitter? How do I change my backgrounds? I stayed sane by removing that feature. I do not do wedding websites anymore. I talked to other wedding website providers, and they have multiple people full-time on their support team because of this. So I've worked really hard to make sure that WeddingLovely is something that I can run long-term without really focusing on it day to day. It would not be sustainable if I couldn't do that, because I'm working on this book. So making sure that my business is mostly automated, mostly runs itself. You know, people join once a week. I run through all the blogging I have to do for the WeddingLovely blog, which is a huge SEO. I launched it for SEO. It's actually been working really well. Can talk more about the stuff I've been doing on the blog side. I don't do any original content really. The vendors that I work with send it in, and I just publish it. So on Sundays, I go through all the content for the week, and I post it. I also have an assistant that helps me import things into WordPress, because that's a pain in the butt, and I didn't want to do that. But really, I can, if I wanted to put WeddingLovely in maintenance mode, all the work I have to do is in one day a week on Sunday, and then Mondays I just go through emails. So that helps me a lot with juggling. I don't have a totally intensive job that takes up all my time. And I'm really lucky that it does that. And like I said, it doesn't make that much money, but it's my title. I'm the president and CEO of a company, of Delaware Corporation, which is still weird. And it makes a nice story, and I've had lots of great experiences. But actually, I've made more money from Hello Web App than I have from WeddingLovely recently, which is another reason why I'm focusing on it. Y'all went silent. All right, done answering. Ooh, what's the best advice you can give to someone with no design skills that wants to get better at it? Great question. Oh, I didn't get, oh, there it is. There's the little thing. I'm actually, my third book is probably gonna be Hello Web Design. I was a toss-up on whether I wanted to do the follow-up Hello Web App Intermediate Concepts first, or if I wanted to do Hello Web Design. I decided to do this one, the second Hello Web App book, because I could sell it as a package deal. It just made marketing sense. I could use the launch of the second book to boost sales of the first book, run a Kickstarter campaign. So a lot of reasons why I decided to work on the intermediate concepts book rather than Hello Web Design. But Hello Web Design is definitely number 3. If this schedule keeps up, maybe it will come out next year, because I like tiny, easy to release books. So I have lots to say on web design for people, especially people who are not designers. Unfortunately, I can't give you the entire thing I'm planning to write about on air, because I'd probably talk for hours. And I'm gonna try to remember all of the tidbits that I have accumulated in my head. A lot of things that are like designed for hackers or designed for programmers or whatnot. The reason I'm writing the book is they really frustrate me, kind of like how programming tutorials frustrated me for programming, is that they add a lot of information I don't think is really necessary for someone who just wants the bare minimum basic design skills, like learning about the golden ratio. You don't need to know that. You don't need to know all the technical terms for typography, like that this part of a letter is a stem, you know, all those kind of words. So it really frustrates me to see intro to design for programmers that include those concepts. If you're going in to be a designer like myself, I agree that you should know that. But the book I'm writing is going to focus on the easiest, most applicable ways to improve your web design, and mainly comes to reducing chaos on the page. And this is why a lot of web design articles say to only use, say, max of 2 fonts. They say to use a grid, because there's like this visual chaos that goes on a page when things are misaligned. And there's a bunch of different fonts that when, you know, there's a bunch of different images all over the place, it kind of just overwhelms. And then when this, and by chaos is kind of strong, you know what I mean though, it's like visual clutter. So a lot of like the main ways to improve your web design is just to remove clutter and make sure it's clean. I'm kind of like a, what do you call it? It's like the 80-20 thing, like 80% or 20% effort gets you 8% there or something like that. I'm getting it wrong. But for web design, I personally am terrible at details. I'm not a visual designer. There's a lot of people who do web design that can do like the perfect little details, whatnot. I just kind of focused on getting it most of the way there. And most of the way there will be making sure you don't have a lot of clutter, which involves white space, which involves a grid, which involves making sure you only have a couple fonts, making sure those fonts are professional fonts usually have a lot less clutter in them themselves, because a very cluttery font would be a lot of these handwriting or scripty fonts or display fonts really that you find on Google Fonts and whatnot. So that's really it, is try to reduce clutter. And a way to, you have to train your design eye to kind of start seeing this. One of the biggest tips I would say is to follow along some of these, there's like these, what do you call them? I want to say Tumblr, but not Tumblr. There's websites that accumulate, they'll like post like the best web designs. I think there's like CSSmania.com. And just every day they just like post new web designs that are really awesome. So if you don't feel like you have a good design eye, you can just follow along here and kind of just start seeing what other people consider to be the best design and think about what you could implement, like, or, well, excuse me, back up. Think about what you could steal. What things that you think that those web designs are doing well. Look at their typography, look at their spacing and whatnot, and just kind of make a note for things you can start implementing to your app. So keep in mind to reduce clutter and make sure things are clear, and start training your design eye by looking at good web design and seeing, you know, try to start picking out those things that make them good web design. Minimalist, definitely. Minimalist is easier to do because you don't have to nitpick over details. I'm glad we don't have the web design change to flat design, because it's a hell of a lot easier to do because you don't have to worry about adding little transitions and colors and whatnot to your buttons. So the trend is definitely towards flat design, which is more minimalist and easier to achieve for people who don't have like strong visual design skills like me. Pareto Principal. I don't know what that is, but I need to look it up. Bad designer. All right. Next question. How do you sell something like a self-published book on Amazon? Ta-da! I'm gonna do that every single time. Sorry, guys. It's just so amusing. Selling a self-published book on Amazon, especially, is a pain in the butt. I don't know. Probably through Google Hangouts, I can show my screen. I'm kind of scared of breaking this broadcast, so I'm not going to do it. I wish I could show you the interior of Amazon's backend, because there's so much work that Amazon puts in the front end. And I'm sure you've seen those articles where they have like tested 3 billion buttons. And they found like the perfect button to make people click. This testing did not apply to their backend. So to sell your book, most people choose one of two avenues, a self-published book particularly. Gumroad is kind of like the #1 platform for selling your own digital products, and they do physical products now too. They're great. They take very little money out of your payment price. I forget what it's like, 5%, maybe lower. They're extremely great people. They're really awesome. And they allow you to, say, upload your digital files, and then you get a little widget, and you can put that widget in your website and just start selling. And it connects up with Stripe too. So everything is awesome on Gumroad. Most people don't do what I did, which is Gumroad or other ways of selling directly to people, like Leanpub. You either do that or Amazon, because the problem with Amazon is that Amazon takes a horrendous amount of money out of your selling price. So for my physical book, I keep holding this up. My physical book, Amazon gets 55% of the sale price. Then this is why you usually don't sell through both platforms. It's just why Hello Web App, the book, I'm selling for $20, because if it wasn't $20, I probably wouldn't be making any kind of revenue from Amazon. Amazon, the good thing with Amazon is if you use Amazon, that they have more reach. You supposedly get access to all people using Amazon. Hopefully sell your book a lot more, whereas Gumroad and whatnot, you have to do your own marketing. So again, most people decide to do just Amazon and let them take a huge chunk out of their published cost for the book, or use Gumroad. I kind of did both. I probably will do both again. Not sure I recommend it, but just because I'm on a roll, I know how to do it. How you get it on Amazon, like I said, my digital files I created through Leanpub, and that saved me so much time, because I was able to, just push a button for my Markdown files, and Leanpub popped out the EPUB and Mobi files for me. And Leanpub says, hey, go ahead and sell on Amazon. I'm like, boy, howdy, will I? So then you can just sign up for, it's Kindle Direct Publishing with Amazon. You just sign up for an account that's free, and you can upload your Kindle file, and you set up all your details, and boom, you're selling on Amazon. Kindle is a lot easier. Take a look at your guys' comments. A/B testing, yes. Amazon does a lot of A/B testing. Speaking of the back end of Amazon, to sell a physical product, there's 2 ways to do it. Essentially, it's like whether you want Amazon to do all of the fulfillment and returns and everything for a physical product for you, or if you want to do it yourself. I chose the first option, and that's Amazon Advantage. So Amazon, I basically told Amazon about my physical book, gave them all the details, and Amazon sends me orders every now and then. I get an email from them saying, hey, we want 8 books. The problem is, like, their whole backend for doing these orders is like something straight out of 1998. This is the part they have not tried to improve. For example, adding the images of my book into the Amazon page, I had to upload them in a very specific format, and it had to be something not like just like back.jpg, but it had to be named like number, letter, number, underscore, back, underscore, blah, 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 .jpg. And if you didn't name it the exact thing that they want you to name, it was going to reject your suggestion, which for anyone who knows how to build a web app, that's ridiculous. You don't need to do that. So many better ways of doing something like this. So Amazon Advantage, the interface is kind of terrible. I understand that a lot of it's due that Amazon works with like these gigantic shipping whatever companies that are doing a bunch of products, and so their process probably works best for them. But for one person just fulfilling books, it's kind of ridiculous inside. But essentially, you can sign up for Amazon, say you have a product, send over images, they'll send you an order, you send them over the stuff, and Amazon will start selling them for you. So that's Amazon Advantage for physical products. That's what I'm using for the physical book, and Kindle Direct Publishing is how you sell your Kindle book. And the Kindle book is, the other thing about Kindle is that if your Kindle book, it costs between $0 to $10, Amazon takes 30%. And if your Kindle book costs above $10, Amazon takes 70%. FYI. Insanity. There's like this like gray period in between 10 and 20 bucks where there's like no point in selling your Kindle book for that amount because you're just going to be losing more money. That's also why the Kindle Hello Web app costs $9.95 because of Amazon's crazy amount of money they take. All right. Next question. We have 16 minutes left. How did you get over why would anyone read what I publish sentiment? Ta-da. Okay. I do a lot of writing. And I'm going to transport myself 5 years ago when my whole web journey kind of really started. I used to work at this startup, never did anything, started going conferences. South by Southwest was one of the first conferences I ever went to. Met my husband. He went to YC. And I decided to start blogging about my experience with learning how to code. I think it helped out seeing Andre go through YC because I got the introduction into Hacker News. I started reading Hacker News beforehand. So the first 2 major articles I really wrote that got any kind of impact, I wrote about wanting to find a co-founder for what is now WeddingLovely. And that, by the way, that search went awful. I have stories about that too. But I wrote this article saying, I have an idea for a startup and I don't know how to code. And I was hoping that someone could partner with me for this thing. And I went huge on Hacker News, which is insane. And I didn't expect that. I think I don't even know if I've submitted it to Hacker News or something. Maybe I did. So how would I know if people would read what I want? It was kind of like the initial validation and how well that one article randomly did. I was like, oh, wait, this is totally an option I can do to write. It's all through that one article. I wrote a follow-up one, which was like, I learned how to code after the co-founder thing fell through. I changed my idea, wrote a follow-up article, which was like, I learned how to code. And in 6 weeks, I launched this project and it's live. I forget what the name of the article is. That also went huge on Hacker News. I would go to events and people would be like, oh, you're that weddings person from Hacker News. Both of these articles were really kind of my introduction into the world of writing and that people would actually read what I was writing. And these 2 articles are not that great. I don't know, maybe they are. That's how I feel. So having those initial successes totally secured in my mind that writing is a good thing to do in general. And when I started working on WeddingLovely over the last 3 years, I actually did no writing, and I kind of regret that because every major conference talk I've done has all been based on a piece of writing I've done too. When I first launched those 2 articles, I got invited to speak to DjangoCon and PyCodeConf, which was run by GitHub. And those opportunities wouldn't have happened if I didn't write those 2 blog posts. As for the book, when I taught myself how to code, I didn't like the current tutorials. And I kept thinking to myself that there is totally a different way for this to be taught. And a lot of it has to do, a lot of the reason why I wrote the book is a lot of it has to do with Tim Ferriss and the 4-hour work week. And he talks about launching these little products and trying to make some passive income from it. And so it's always been in my head that I wanted to launch a product and get a passive income and be Tim Ferriss, swan myself around the world. And when I kept seeing that these tutorials didn't exist, I kind of just hit me that that could be my product, that I could write a book. And I originally I went to a couple of publishers. One of them turned me down. One of them said yes. And that was also another thing. I'm like, oh, wait, if a publisher thinks this is a good idea, this is no starch. And I turned them down. Sorry, no starch. If a publisher thinks it's a good idea, maybe people will like it. But the other thing that helped, that I knew that the niche of people that this book would reach is actually pretty small. I had to find people who want to build a web app that don't know how to yet. So the intersection is very tiny. Knowing that it's going to be a small amount of people definitely makes it a little easier to know that people are going to want it, because I'm like, well, if there's someone else like me, which I'm pretty sure there is, like me 4 years ago, then I'll have a reader. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, that writing in general has been really great for my life and helping me meet new people and opportunities for my career, blogging about these random things. Like on limedaring.com, which is my personal website, there's a lot of blog posts I've written about things that I wish I did differently for WeddingLovely, the post of how depression is my worst enemy to working at my startup. Now that I'm writing more, blogging through Hello Web App, writing Hello Web App itself, it's such a great thing for the career. And and there's some posts I wrote that are really awesome and got no readers, which was really disappointing. There's a few times I've submitted to Hacker News and it just like failed, and I'd be depressed for the rest of the day. But generally, I feel like being honest and open and friendly, most people seem to enjoy at least reading it, even if it's not useful. So it's kind of just a feeling, I guess. It's worked out well for me in the past. Done. All right, I see a question. Speaking of small products, do you have any opinions on the Gumroad Small Product Lab? Oh, I don't know what that is. I'll have to look that up later, because I'm not gonna. Again, I'm kind of scared of leaving this page in case Google Hangouts dies on me again. Okay, I will look it up later. Don't have any opinions because I don't know about it. But general Gumroad itself, they're really great. They've actually been really promoting for Hello Web App, because they just announced some feature to, you can upload a product and then have variations. And they didn't really have an easy way of doing variations on one product, like digital version, digital plus paperback. Didn't have a really easy way of doing that beforehand. And they did a blog post about it. And the first page, there was like a gallery that switched. The first page was The Martian, of course, because The Martian is a really great book, and it's going to be a movie with Matt Damon. So that was first page, and then slider would switch, and it'd be Hello Web App. So Gumroad in general has been actually really supportive and about promoting Hello Web App with all their stuff. And a lot has to do with the fact that I took some, I think, pretty awesome images that makes the book look really spiffy. But Gumroad in general has been really supportive of Hello Web App, and I know most people love them. So I'm sure whatever it is awesome. Ooh, a link. Oh, I'm so scared to click on it. I don't know what's going to happen because of this widget. Well, that's for everyone else to look at. I will tweet you with my opinions later. Another question. How do you suggest fixing the pipeline problem for women in tech? I'm going to end this in 8 minutes, by the way. So if you have any final questions, add them over to this list and press on votes and whatnot, and I'll try to get to all of them. But I'm going to cut this off at 1 hour. So pipeline problem for women in tech. I wish I had a good answer. I don't have an answer for this. Well, okay, let me tell you a story. When I was in college, I have an art major right now, graphic design concentration. Totally helped out with the glorious design of my book because I did everything. But I originally went into college for computer science because I loved making websites when I was in high school and in middle school. And I thought that if I made websites, that meant I was good at programming and I was going to jump into computer science, because another person in my family also went to Cal Poly for computer science. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo is my university. And Cal Poly is an excellent school for computer science on the West Coast. So I just went to Cal Poly, got into the program. And it was like literally day one, hour one of my first class, computer science. I remember the teacher going through all these concepts I had no clue about, because I only did websites before. And he was talking about I don't remember, but I remember just sitting in the class being baffled. And I went to him after class and I said, I don't understand
Like, I think I'm in the wrong major. Maybe I'm in the wrong class. This was like way more intense than I thought. And he's like, no, hang on, just stay in it. So it's like computer science totally started off on the wrong foot for me. And I made it through my 101 class, not getting good grades, made it through my 102 class. Cal Poly's in quarter system, so you have 3 quarters per year. And 102, I remember introduced GUIs, graphical user interfaces, and I had this moment of like, this is actually what I want to do. I like making buttons, and you press a button and do things. So that was definitely a sign of what's to come with what I do now with web apps. 103 was the breaking point. And I heard the teacher saying, hey, if you've gone this far, you're at the top of the class. And because most people don't make it through a 101 and 102 without failing once, which was kind of scary. And that teacher was awful. Like, maybe he's good. Maybe he's good for a good teacher, but for most people who really understood computer science and were supposed to be good in computer science. But I was struggling a lot. The entire class kind of revolved around, oh, by the way, we're learning Java, which is not a great computer programming. But the entire class, majority of the class revolved around writing a research paper on different sorting methods. And we had like reverse engineer them and write a whole paper on like how we made our own. I forget exactly what it is. I had a partner with someone. It was awful. Very theoretical. Nothing that was really interesting to me. And one time we had a test or assignment, and I gave back my assignments, and the rubric was like 20% this, 25% this. I was struggling with it as usual. So I definitely focused on the things that are worth more. And when I got the assignment back, he had changed the rubric. So things that were worth less was something worth more. So I emailed him saying, hey, by the way, I worked on this assignment with the idea that, this was the rubric, and can I have the original rubric that you sent out? And I got an email back from him saying, yeah, that's totally fine, or whatever, I'll do it for exactly the tone. But then he launched into a rant and was like, I remember it being really long, saying how I was not studying and how I didn't care. Like, it's kind of like the 500 story. This email was so rude. I just remember because it said very prominently that he thought I never studied and I wasn't applying myself, and that I was not going to get anywhere in life if I didn't start focusing on my classes. And that was awful because he acted like, instead of I'm struggling with computer science, that it was like a personal problem. And the way things are taught, and maybe for a lot of other women or men too, just didn't resonate with me. I want to go back to this professor and say, hey, look, I wrote a book about programming. Like, I did apply myself. I was actually studying, thank you very much. But this guy is actually what led to me quitting computer science. So in terms of pipeline into women in tech, I always think about that story because maybe other women have the kind of way I'm thinking. Like, I wrote Hello Web App because I'm a visual person. I like to see things. And that theory class did not work out well for me. Traditional computer science did not work out well for me. Maybe there's better ways of getting women or people visual minded into tech if they're not taught in these kind of ways, like this dude who gave me a very mean email, ruined my. At that point I was done with computer science. And the next opportunity to switch my majors, which was the next year, switch over to art, and I just started painting and then thought I would never program again because of this one dude. Was that professor the same person in the King of Death? It sounds like the right person, same person, right? Now, I want to say his name too, but maybe this will come back to him. But yeah, to that professor at Cal Poly, I have no idea if you're still teaching anymore. I have made it, and you almost stopped me. Python is definitely a better introduction language. Yes. That's the reason why I wrote that blog post saying I was looking for a co-founder before I figured out I could code, because I thought that I hated programming. I couldn't program. I already tried it and failed. And Andre, my husband, was like, why not Python? Look, it's so much easier. Yeah, totally is. All right, 2 more minutes. I'll try to answer some questions less long-windedly. How do I decide what specific topics to write about? Kind of anything I feel like I can rant about. This Hello Web App was kind of a long-winded rant about how I wish that this Django was taught differently. Any like Hello Web Design, I want to rant about how I wish that web design was taught differently to programmers. I would like to do a Hello Startups book because I like to tell people about startups and tell them stories and get them started so people can run their own company. So it's kind of anything that I can write longer on. Like this book, the first Hello Web App is 18,000 words. Actually, not that long. Next book is going to be like 24,000. So how do I know what I want to write about? It's kind of anything I can just long-windedly write about. When am I writing a design book? I am writing a design book when Hello Web App Intermediate Concepts is completely out, hopefully December, maybe early 2016. Once it's out, a couple months of focusing on marketing, I'm probably going to have a itch to write again. If the last 6 months have been any indication of how things are going to go. I'll bet you I will start writing on it next spring to next summer, and maybe it'll come out December 2016. Small books are easier to get out fast. I like to work fast. So hopefully, I would love to be able to keep Hello Web App and have a second book and have a third book and have this whole thing, because that also makes a lot of sense for passive income for me. Marketing opportunities, all that scumbaggy stuff means more money for me, which means I can support myself. I'll try to answer all the things. It's 2 o'clock. Victory. Answer my second question and the first one. Thanks. Both if possible. Gopar. Let me take a look for your questions really quickly. All right. I will answer one of your questions. I'm not sure which one this is. How do I generate traffic for WeddingLovely, blogs, SEO, and social media? Well, what's else? WeddingLovely is actually 11 different websites. They all kind of tie together. I have a huge number of specialized directories: WeddingInviteLove.com, WeddingPhotoLove.com, WeddingPlannerLove.com. These are all works well with SEO. It works to bring vendors in to work with me, because if a photographer finds WeddingPhotoLove.com, they see something that's specialized for them. It means it's more likely for them to sign up. But all these sites kind of pull into each other. So it's not necessarily the best idea, because maintaining this number of sites is actually really hard to do, especially for one person. But that's one thing that helped out, and that ties into SEO. SEO has been really huge, and driving traffic. That's the other reason why I launched the WeddingLovely planning guide, is that I was relying too much on SEO and Google, and I wanted a way to shuttle more users into the WeddingLovely ecosystem. So not just vendors, but also users. They're, brides and grooms are looking for their vendors. So I launched that. I launched a planning guide, which was originally a paid product, didn't really do well, made it free, so I can shuttle as many people as possible to the vendors I work with. And then the blog has gone really well in SEO. There's a few articles on it. Like if you Google for top wedding websites, probably my article will be on top of that page, and that drives a ton of traffic. So that's also SEO. But those are the main reasons. I don't do any paid advertising. A lot of it's just through SEO and the blog. Money is very important. Yes, transition. All right, let me see if I can see. Oh man, maybe I'll just keep going for another 15 minutes. You guys can drop off whenever you want. But let me see if I can find the other question. Gopar, I won't be able to answer your other question about why didn't it work with WeddingLovely. Well, actually, I will. Why didn't it work with WeddingLovely? I waffled between, I'll give you a really quick answer. I waffled between fundraising and being a bootstrap business. And I did this many different times throughout the world of WeddingLovely. That's not necessarily a good thing. You need to stick with one tactic and keep growing. And I thought I was going to be fundraising, and so I grew WeddingLovely really huge to the point it was unmaintainable, but the fundraising didn't work out. And then bootstrapping is unmaintainable because I have this really huge ecosystem. Essentially, it's with WeddingLovely, I have 7 different balls I need to be juggling at any one time. I can only juggle 4, so 3 are off the side and growing stale. And so that could be like working on my analytics, the planning guide, the specialized directories. It's just the ecosystem is too big for me to run on my own. And that's because I waffle between fundraising and bootstrapping. For more of an answer, you can send me an email, tracy@limedaring.com, or Twitter, and I can expand. These questions are so much fun. I will answer this one because that's another one I can do. Get your lives in order before launching web app or new business. I mean that specifically in terms of launching something you want to become your business. If you have, it takes so much mental energy to be running something you want to make your business that I know it's going to be depressing because things aren't going to go well and you're going to really want things to go well. And your daily, it's going to be a roller coaster. So when you're at these lows, and if there's other things in your life that are making it more low, it compounds on itself and you can run into problems. There's an excellent JangoCon talk on depression. There's a lot of startup founders that go through depression. There's a lot of startup founders who have committed suicide. So if you can put yourself in the best place as possible before launching a startup, it means that you can probably have a better chance of surviving the lows of a startup, which are going to be a lot, because it's just really stressful when you're working on something that's your baby and you want it to grow big, and there's going to be days where it doesn't feel like it's growing big. In other words, other side is also startups cost a lot of money. They sometimes don't go well. It makes it a lot easier not to have any debt before you jump into that, because it's also another stressor. So that's what I mean by get your life in order. Ooh, questions. No paid ads. No paid ads for WeddingLovely. I think I would lose money way faster than I would gain money with paid ads, especially since I don't have technically a paid product. My vendors pay, and I can't really target vendors to pay through ads. It's just kind of like a gap in between there. So it just wouldn't work out. When I had a paid WeddingLovely.com, the planning guide was paid. I thought about doing paid apps, paid advertising, but no paid advertising now. All right, I'm gonna go to 2:15 because this is too much fun, and people are still here. When am I ready to teach / host a conference? I honestly thought about that at JangoCon, but then I also looked at how stressed out people were, the organizers running JangoCon, and I'm like, maybe not. But every now and then I think that there needs to be a conference that ties together. Like JangoCon has a lot of cool backend Django Python things, but there's not a lot of focus on the web part of Django, which is, again, Hello Web App kind of goes into that. Aiming it for people who are using Django to build websites and projects and startups and stuff, front-end developers who want to do that. That front-end web part would be really cool to run a conference solely on. However, I will not be doing that soon, especially as I'm writing books right now. I will answer this one. Was I an employee, then decided to jump into a startup and jumped right at it, and why? I had, ooh, my face is really red. This is stress. I quit my job probably about 8 months before starting WeddingLovely. I worked for 4.5 years at a startup, and that started in my college town of San Luis Obispo. And that's a whole story. But I quit, and I originally started doing freelance web design because I wanted to work for myself. But then I realized I still didn't like having a boss, even if I was a freelancer, because then your client is your boss. And I watched Andre, again, my husband, go through YCombinator, watched him go through the startup experience, and I was like, that is what I want. I want to be my own boss, building a product that people love. I really want to be in YC, and I still really want to be in YC. I've applied so many times. I've been denied so many times. But so I didn't jump right into startups. I watched someone else go through the startup experience before jumping into it myself. And why? I want to be my own boss. Again, it's Tim Ferriss. I know some people don't like him, but his book really resonated with me. And his talk about, the 4-hour work week is really just like 4 hours of things that you consider work, things that you don't really want to do per week, and everything else you work on things that you love. So I wanted to do that. Both my parents have passed away, and it's really important for me to have a life that I'm enjoying, because my dad, I'm not saying he didn't enjoy his life, but he passed away right before his retirement. He worked his entire life And right before he's going to retire and enjoy things again, he passed away from cancer. And so for me, I want to try to make sure that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I can travel when I want. And right now, again, I don't have that much money. Hopefully someday I will get there, because it was really transformative. Well, I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, both my parents passing away was a huge motivation for me to try to like work really hard to try to see if I can become successful on my own, so I can have freedom in my life while I'm young. Hello, Django front end conf. Yeah. Okay, that'll be the name. 6 more minutes. Ooh, God bless them. Yes, I agree. It's hard feeling like an orphan even though I'm 30. I miss them. I wish my dad. I think my dad passed away when I was just turned 22, so it's been a while. Let's see. I'll try to go through these really quickly. Sorry, I'm choosing ones with 0 votes because I think they're fun. What's the project you enjoyed working on so much? This has been awesome. I've gotten money from it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the fame. I say egotistically, I like going to conferences and people telling me that they've used Hello Webapp. Not to say that WeddingLovely has been awesome, but for example, when I got married, I eloped, even though I run a wedding startup. So that kind of tells you my feelings about weddings in general. Okay. I don't know how to answer the current top one to this one. How do I organize my day? How do I stay productive? I kind of answered this already. When this is recorded, I'll point you to the first video, which hopefully still exists because I had to restart. But essentially using momentum, having to-do lists, running through those to-do items, even the smallest ones will help keep me motivated at least a little bit. And sometimes I just say, screw the rest of the day and I do nothing. And how do I organize my days? Work whenever I feel motivated. Really, that's it. Good to do. One more vote in this one. What's my motto in life? Your role model and Ferriss character. All right, quick answer to this one. Motto in life. I don't know. I probably will change this since I think about it more than 5 seconds ahead. But really, I try to think that most people are awesome and are trying to do good. And that's helped out a lot in life because I don't really think things are really that evil or horrible. It makes it easier for me to go meet new people. That everyone in general is an awesome person. Sometimes they're not, like King of Desks guy. But I try to think in general, people are great. People are awesome. They're doing the best they can. And that helps a lot out in life. I try to hope that I'm awesome and friendly and warm and opening. And my role model, both someone personally and a famous character. I'm just going to do one of those. I say Tim Ferriss a lot. I do want to meet him and talk to him. There's a lot of things I don't like about him. But again, his book was a huge reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. So Tim Ferriss, it's top of my head. Elon Musk is amazing. I would love to be a rich billionaire launching companies that revolve around sustainability and space. Like Teslas are awesome. SpaceX is awesome. Elon Musk is just kind of mind-blowingly amazing. I could never be as motivated as in life as he is. Famous character. I don't know how to answer that. Gandalf. Gandalf's awesome. Ooh, question. Okay, sorry about answering it twice. I don't know if people are popping in or popping out. I wish I could see like a list. Maybe I can. A list of people who are in this talking thing. But I can't, I think. Tim Ferriss is a polarizing figure. Yes, he is. But I can't say that his first book wasn't a good kick in the butt for working for myself. Notice how red my cheeks are? This is my stress response. Even though this is really easy, this is what I do. And my face feels so hot right now. Super red face. You should see me after I work out. I just go completely beet red. So I think I answered all the questions that had votes. Sorry to everyone I didn't get to. I do need to go back to work at some point and finish editing the second book for Hello Webapp. So if you haven't seen the Kickstarter, you should go Google for Hello About Kickstarter or whatever. Again, I'm kind of scared to leave this and send links in. But yeah, support the Kickstarter. Thanks to everyone who has already. I'm trying to get to $10,000 raised for the second book because here's the thing, I am funded for the second book. However, I set the funding level at half of what I was actually hoping to get because a lot of people like to pile onto Kickstarter campaigns when they're already funded. So a lot of recommendations say cut your goal in half. So it might look like I'm funded, but really I'm still in like, I got to get up to $10,000 to really help get Hello Webapp intermediate concepts to where I want it to be. So please keep sharing the book, the Kickstarter, sharing Hello Webapp. Send me emails anytime. I'd love to help out. And thanks to everyone for showing up. This was like a lot more awesome than I thought it was going to be. I mean, not saying it wasn't going to be awesome, but I was like imagining crickets and like one person in here. So yeah, my ego is so big right now. Thank you. All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast. Find my email anytime. Send me an email. I try to answer everything, even though it might be short if I'm busy. So if you have another question, send me an email. Otherwise, thank you, everyone. Wesley, I just woke him up. Wesley says, thank you, and please let me go back to sleep. Have a great day.